Summer routines live or die by how easy they are. And honestly, if something takes too much effort, I'm out. That's why Groons is my go-to. It's my one daily pack of gummies covering my greens, vitamins, and minerals. Plus, it has 6 grams of prebiotic fiber, which is more than 2 cups of broccoli. No mixing powders, no giant pills, no hassle. I just rip open the pack and I'm done. They taste good and they make it easy to stay on top of my health, even when life gets busy. Save up to 52% with the code PODCAST at Groons.co. That's code PODCAST at GRUNS.co.
What's up with Kaprizov? When or if will hockey return? What is Michael buying on the internet these days? We'll answer these very important questions here on the Russo Hockey Show, part of TalkNorth.com. Best way to listen to this show or anywhere on the network, subscribe to Talk North or this show in particular. We have a bunch of new outdoors content. We also have new Gopher Hole content coming out. And if you'd like to advertise with us, you can reach me at JSOUHAN@TalkNorth.com. Please support your local businesses, including Minnesota's Vodka, Grey Duck Vodka, and Tony Hoagland, your State Farm agent in Champlin. Michael, let's start here. Kaprizov, do we have some key dates arriving?
Yeah, his contract in the KHL expired today. And that really means that he's eligible to sign with the Wild as soon as tomorrow, meaning Friday. And, basically what I wrote a big feature on him yesterday. It's an expansive player profile where I talked to a lot of players that have played with him or against him, a coach that currently coaches against him, and then a lot of people that really have seen him intently. So the people I talked to for the story, Ryan Stowe and Cade Fairchild, who both went to the University of Minnesota, they actually played in his hometown with Kaprizov when he was a teenager, just busting out into really stardom. The second year, he actually led the team in scoring. I talked to John Blum, the former Wild defenseman who's played against him a ton. I talked to Bob Hartley, the former Colorado, Atlanta, and Calgary coach who currently coaches in the KHL. So he's coached Kaprizov a bunch in the KHL, against him a bunch in the KHL, but also in AHL All-Star games. And then I talked to people like Ray Ferraro, Alex Daylock, Billy Guerin, Craig Button, Dean Evison. So a lot of people really talk about him in depth in that story. But the one thing I did want to tell Wild fans in the story that will, I'm sure, not stop the incessant tweets that I get on Friday is you probably don't need to sit on Twitter all day on Friday and refresh your Twitter account to see if Kaprizov signed. Right now, he's still, as of 1 minute ago when I double checked, he still doesn't have an agent signed. And so this could take a little bit. The other concern is, and this is why he doesn't seem to be in a hurry to get an agent, is that I think that he wants to see what happens with the NHL. Now, it's very clear that the NHL is trying very, very hard to return this summer, return to play. And I really think that there's, as long as their local governments allow it and the Department of Health said that come up with ways to make sure that it is safe, I think that the NHL is going to do that. Now, there's going to be so many intricacies to how they can return to play. I talked to somebody yesterday that told me that the PGA is about to actually put out like a 40-page set of rules to essentially determine how to eventually return to play this summer. They originally wanted to come back here in June. So the NHL is going to be just as really expansive from that standpoint. But the thing is, and here's the concern, is if the NHL returns to play this summer, but the NHL decides that players that sign cannot start right away, if they return to play this summer, that's going to push next season back to November or December. And if that's the case, is Kaprizov going to wait until November and December and just not play? Or is there the danger that he would actually re-sign in the KHL just because he needs somewhere to play for the next several months? Because I think we're all assuming that the KHL is going to figure out a way to start next season on time. and again, they've outright canceled their season. They're not even trying to return this summer. So that is, I think, probably the only worry the Wild have. Now, I deep down think that the NHL are going to allow these contracts to start right away. I mean, if this was a normal circumstance and the Wild were still alive in the playoffs, Kaprizov is on their reserve list. If he was going to sign today and the Wild were midway through the second round of the playoffs, just like Cale Makar last year, he would be allowed to play right now. So I don't know what the difference would be between now and this summer. Another good example of that, I mean, it's kind of apples and oranges, but there are a lot of teams right now that have significant injuries that their players would not be able to play right now, that in July they are going to be healthy, the Jake Gensels of the world and people like that. So, look, this is not a perfect world. Players that would not have been eligible to play a month ago because they were hurt are suddenly going to be allowed to play in July because they're suddenly healthy. So I don't understand why, if a normal rule would happen that would allow Kaprizov to play today, why he wouldn't be allowed to play July. So I think the Wild are counting on that. But I think the biggest concern will be is that the league starts the season in July, but says Kaprizov isn't eligible. And if they start in July, that's going to push next season back, and that would be the only thing that could blow this up. But Kaprizov has made it extremely clear that he wants to play. He's been quoted saying that he wants to start in the NHL. As I've reported from sources, he's turned down an extension so far with the Red Army team. And then something else funny happened yesterday is that there's a Twitter account called Kaprizov Countdown, and Kirill Kaprizov follows like 5 accounts on Twitter. He followed Kaprizov Countdown yesterday. So I think that's a good sign, right? I mean, he in his Twitter profile, he says Minnesota Wild prospect. I mean, this guy wants to come here. So if for some reason this thing blew up, it's not going to be because of him not wanting to come. It's going to be more so like, holy mackerel, I'm not going to wait till December to not play hockey. So I still think it's going to happen. I just think that he needs an agent right now. So, that could happen with one flick of the pen. Basically, I think I know who his agent's going to be. But right now, he does not have an agent as of right this second, which means that if he doesn't have an agent as of Friday, that he's probably not going to sign right away. But I really highly recommend people going to The Athletic and reading that. I worked really hard, several months on that story, and hopefully people enjoy it. And again, if you go to theathletic.com/wild and click on that Kaprizov story, you can get a 90-day free trial and actually read that story for free, no risk, and cancel whenever you want.
Just to be clear, just to clarify this point that you made in the midst of all those permutations, if Kaprizov signs, he's not signing to be an immediate member of the Wild. He's signing to be a member of the 2020-21 Wild. Great
question, Jim. The way that would work is, and this is coming from multiple sources, is that he would agree to terms on 2 contracts. One that would start this year if he can, and that would have to be tabled because the league right now isn't allowing that. And another one, if they don't allow him to play, that it would start next season. But I think that's his concern right now and why he's a little worried about signing on the dotted line for next season, because he doesn't know if next season is going to start in December. And so that, I think, is the biggest concern. But you're right. I mean, right now, he would not be allowed to sign a contract that would start for the 19-20 season. But that is his goal. He wants to start this summer if the Wild return to play. And that is what right now the league is not allowing. Now, my belief is, a personal belief, is that the league should allow him to play once it decides that it's going to play this summer, because technically, if this was a normal situation, he would be allowed to play. Again, if he was signing today on May 1st and the Wild were still in the playoffs, he would be allowed to play right now. So my point is that if the rule would allow him to play right now, if the Wild return this summer to play, I think that he should be allowed to do that, but we'll see if that happens.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, that's a really interesting and important aspect of all this. Hey, I want to thank Grey Duck Vodka. Grey Duck Vodka is a proud partner of the Russo Suhan Show.
Minnesota has always been home for me and my family. And truly, I am so proud of everything about this state. This is Carly Zucker. I love celebrating everything unique about our state, and that includes the best vodka, and that's Grey Duck Vodka. When you head to the store, remember Grey Dog Vodka is locally made, locally owned, gluten-free, and most importantly, a company that gives back to the community. Thank you for choosing Grey Dog Vodka and supporting local business.
This network began as a labor of love, and with the help of Michael Russo, we've grown it quite a bit, both in terms of numbers of shows and numbers of listeners. And we rely on not only local listeners, we rely on local businesses like Grey Duck Vodka. So in this difficult time, please support your local businesses and keep Minnesota afloat. And about Grey Duck Vodka. It's Chad Greenway's company. They do great work. They put out a really good vodka. Check them out. I think you probably have a more interesting quarantine than me because you're more likely to go on the internet and buy weird stuff. Any recent purchases?
Yeah, definitely. First of all, I can't hear out of my right ear. I bought like this ear solution, and I don't know if I got it way too deep in the ear canal or whatever, but for like 3 days, it just feels like it's like permanently clogged and irritated. So that's a problem. The other thing I bought on Amazon, like in late March, that finally came yesterday, is a thermometer. Okay, for $14.99. And I'm telling you, I open up the thermometer and it's like Fuji something. The instructions are completely in Japanese, and the thermometer is only in Celsius. And honestly, it feels like the thermometer was made by Mattel. It's that fragile, like it's a toy. And so I take my temperature yesterday just to see if it works, and it comes out 32.6 Celsius. So then I go to the internet to see what 32.6 says in Fahrenheit, and it's 90.5. So then I take it again, and it's like 33.1 Celsius, which comes out to like 90.9, which I'm pretty sure would make me like dead, right?
Dead. Yeah, you're dead.
Yeah. There's no
do you mind?
Isn't the average temperature 98 something?
Will you continue to do the show even though you're dead? I mean, I'm just being self-serving.
So I waited a month for this thing, spent $14.99. I looked again at what I bought on Amazon, and it definitely doesn't show that this thing is all in Japanese. And it definitely doesn't show that it's all in Celsius. But I'm not kidding you. Like, when you touch the thermometer, you can hear the plastic in your finger. Like, you hear it. You feel it moving in your fingertips. Like, I don't know what I bought, why it took a month, but essentially I got hoodwinked here for just a ridiculous purchase. So the thermometer definitely doesn't work.
So, Michael, not to get too personal, but what other things have you bought on the internet that you've stuck in your body?
I don't think I've really bought too much stuff.
That you're willing to talk about.
Yeah. Bought a bunch of masks. That also seems to be coming from overseas. Bought a bunch of gloves. That seems to be coming from overseas. I don't know. It's interesting, actually. I mean, back to like getting back to normalcy of our world, as I was thinking about, like, what is it going to be like are we going to be allowed to cover games? These players and these coaches and these trainers are all going to have to isolate. Are beat writers allowed to essentially be COVID tested? And if we're willing to put ourselves in quarantine with them in the hotel, or will they even allow us to cover the games? Are we going to have to initially start by watching things on TV and continuing Zoom calls? Traveling, are we going to have to take temperatures to get on an airplane? And if that's the case, I could be in deep trouble, because usually I shotgun like a Starbucks on the way to the on the way to the gate.
Just bring your own thermometer; it'll show you're absolutely healthy or dead.
Usually I'm red hot when I get onto a gate. Like, I'd probably be 110. It's either because I shotgun a Starbucks or I just got off the phone with LaPanta.
Oh man, have you ever done both at the same time?
So, and that's usually where my temperature goes up to about 150. Somebody actually once said to me on a plane, like, "Man, you look like super hot, super red right now," and I'm like, "Yeah, I just got off the phone with Anthony."
You just made the same sound referring to LaPanta that you use when you're talking about Russo's slacks.
They might be the same person.
I was going to say, have we ever seen them in the same room at the same time? I don't think we have.
No. But in terms of other things that I've bought, really nothing. That I know that I could think of off the top of my head.
Well,
no, that's not true. I bought a new wallet. I don't know what I need a wallet for, because we don't go outside.
I was saying, what do you need a wallet for? All you need is sweatpants with pockets.
I won't say where I bought the wallet from because that'll make me sound like I'm just throwing money away. But there was this wallet when I was in Vegas back in December. I went to this store that there was a certain wallet that I wanted, and they told me that they didn't have, and they were essentially you can't buy them anywhere anymore. And then the other day I went to this company's website, and there it was, and I swooped it up. So that was pretty cool.
I bought some sweats online, which I actually really am enjoying. My stupidest internet purchase was right after the pandemic really started, making people change their behaviors. And I went to my local grocery store and they had no toilet paper. I went on, a very popular website and just ordered toilet paper. You thought even if it doesn't get here anytime soon, at least there's some on the way. I think I ordered toilet paper from the same company that made your thermometer because
like sandpaper.
I think I probably ordered it a month ago or 6 weeks ago, just arrived, and it literally is like small packs of something that's like sandpaper.
Yeah, it's that's the one thing with Amazon is that some of the companies that are you get from third party companies, They're coming from overseas and they're taking forever, and they are definitely not what was advertised.
No.
And there's no way to get any reconciliation. Like you can't at that point you can't even, like yesterday about the thermometer, I sent an email to Amazon. They basically said, "Oh, you're shit out of luck. You got to break this company called Millway," which I'm telling you, nobody go to that company. And anyway, so that was it. Something else that was funny. I was out for a walk a couple days ago, and I called my mother. And at the end of the call, she goes to me, "I think you arranged this COVID-19 just so you never have to see me."
Well, now we know.
And I just kind of burst out laughing because that's definitely what she would see. She would think of. So.
I got a question that kind of leads us into the discussion of when hockey could possibly return. I think the guy's trying to take a shot at me, but I'm actually going to take it seriously. First, though, we want to thank Tony Hoagland, HOAGLUND, your State Farm agent out of Champlin. He handles my insurance and he handles Michael's insurance.
Every team knows that the two-point play can be a winning move. That's why State Farm agent Tony Hoagland and his team are here to help you go for two by combining your home and auto insurance. It's a great call that saves you time and money. So go for the win and score savings by combining your home and auto. It's just another way we're here to help life go right. Call State Farm agent Tony Hoagland at 763-421-4900 or online at champlininsurance.com.
So among our Twitter questions, Wade Peterson says, over-under on, I should read this in a snarky voice, over-under on the number of columns Souhan will write against whatever relaunch plan the NHL announces. This fits into a certain category of sports fan and a certain category of American citizen who thinks that for some reason, some of us actually want things not to return to normal, or we're enjoying this, or we're feeling justified by all this. I can't wait for sports to get back. My life depends on it. My company depends on it. My podcast company depends on it. My friends' livelihoods depend on it. I can't wait till they get back. I just don't want anybody to die so I can watch a hockey game. It's that simple.
Yeah.
So, and you know what it is? We just need testing. We need testing. And once we have testing, then you can find a way to play games. Yeah.
Well, it's funny that you said that. I just emailed somebody from the NHL and I said, "Hey, is there anything I could do right now to assure that if there are small activities coming up here later this month that I'll be allowed to cover? Antibody tests. Should I try to? I don't know how to, but I honestly, I mean, it sounds stupid, but I have not looked into even how a normal citizen like myself can get a COVID-19 test, if it's even possible, without having symptoms. So like I basically asked that, and I haven't heard back yet. But you're right. I mean, especially here at the Athletic, where we are, to me, like the Star Tribune is so needed right now because that's where you're going to find out everything that's going on locally with your news, and the Pioneer Press. But the Athletic, we are an all sports website, and it's really, quite frankly, amazing the amount of content that we're still churning out from our 400 writers. And it's also amazing that our owners have not done anything to us in terms of furloughs or so far. I mean, sports we are without sports endlessly. I understand that that there are going to be some probably repercussions, but so far we have had no furloughs, no pay cuts, no layoffs, nothing. So it's pretty amazing. But you're right. For the longer this goes, you know that's coming. And the longer it goes, like, I'm sorry, it's hard for a writer like myself to be motivated to do top 10 lists every day. That's why I've been digging into stories like that 2014 Game 7 story or the Fiala story, because at least it's fun for me to write, and I hope it's fun for the reader. But it's not my favorite thing to sit there and say the top 10, Minnesota Wild number 10s in history, like that stuff just doesn't interest
Gets old
me.
fast.
Yeah, so like I want the sport to return, and so that's why I've been doing a lot of, like, we have I've tried to gather a bunch of us together. I did that Hub City thing the other day, that project that I talked about on the last podcast. But I've tried to gather a bunch of us, veteran hockey writers at the Athletic, to get on a Zoom here in the next day or two to try to do some projects about what actually return to play will consist of. What will it be like for these players to do small activities? Will they have to turn in their phones when they come into the arena? Will they have to disinfect everything? Will they only allow 3 or 4 people in the gym? Will people have to wear masks in the locker room? Will they have to, have guys 3 or 4 stalls apart? More stuff. The one thing I really want to know is that, and I can get on a tangent about a lot of stuff, but like, the playoffs, if they come back here in July, what will that look like? How is it fair for the Carolina Hurricanes to have to go and face all those juggernauts in their division rather than their original schedule that had a lot of cupcakes on it left, when they're head to head right now, battling head to head for a playoff spot in Columbus? Same thing with Minnesota. If they're going against Vancouver to make the playoffs, and Vancouver gets to play these unmotivated California teams, while the Minnesota Wild have to play St. Louis and Nashville and Dallas and Winnipeg to try to get in, how is that fair? How will the playoffs look? Will they expand the playoffs, or will there be sort of a rest of the regular season that allows you to maybe get into the top 4 in your division, and then you play a round-robin tournament in the playoffs to get into the next round? And if that's the case, by the way, the Wild are not 1 point out of a playoff spot. Right now, they're 3 points out of a playoff spot if it was top 4. This is one scenario that I've heard from league sources. If you start next season late, what will happen with the American Hockey League players, Jim? This is the AHL might not play next season if they are a gate-driven league, and if you can't have fans in the stands, they might not play. But then, what do you do with all those players? If there's no league, and then you have, say, in November or December, the NHL started, and you have, say, 10 players on a taxi squad, but some of those guys are prospects that aren't playing. They're just practicing every day. How is that fair? How long-term will that affect their development? Say a team like Columbus that's bringing over this stud goalie to put in Cleveland this year. If he is not playing but just practicing every day on a taxi squad, waiting for somebody to test positive for COVID-19 or get hurt, what does that do for his long-term development? How much does that inhibit it? Should you just leave that guy in Europe if that's the case? There's so many questions I have, and I can only imagine what goes on in the league office on an everyday basis, because I've got to think that they're just sitting here like this, thinking like every single thing affects 4 or 5 or 6 other things. There are offshoots to everything that create more problems. Just look at what happened when they even considered doing, and maybe it still happens, the draft in June, and how all of a sudden they realized what kind of problems that absolutely would present. Another thing here is that at some point these Europeans with a closed border have to figure out a way, or the league has to figure out a way to get them back here, because if you're going to start small activities in mid-May, these guys need to get back in here, because they're all going to have to quarantine for at least 14 days. We talked to Kevin Fiala yesterday, and Fiala right now with Eriksson Ek, Rask, and Brodin are in Sweden, which has largely been open. They have had no stay-at-home orders. They've kept their restaurants open. They've kept gyms open, things like that. So these guys are going to have to quarantine, and how will that be? If you land these guys in Dallas or Chicago or whatever from coming over from Europe, are you just immediately busing them to a local hotel in that city and quarantining them for 14 days? This is a lot of questions that have to be answered. I got to think that the league office and the NHLPA just have endless lists.
Absolutely. Hey, thank you to our producer, Brandon Morton. Let's hit some Twitter questions real quick here from Jeff Ripka. Since we're searching for topics, what would a 16 team look like with today's players? Would checking lines even exist? How high would scoring totals be? It's an interesting thought exercise.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, you're taking, I mean, 16 teams, you're taking 15 out, 15 times 20. I mean, you're taking 300 players out of the league. So now all of a sudden you're putting the most talented players on 16 teams. You're obviously going to have a super, super skilled league, most likely.
From Gina, what's one thing that used to drive you crazy while covering hockey that you would gladly deal with again if it meant hockey was back?
One crazy thing while covering hockey you would gladly deal with
Or
again.
one thing that used to drive you crazy covering hockey. Like, what's an annoyance that you would be happy to deal with again?
Kevin Fallness.
Okay, that's a good answer. From Chris Labresh, what do you both love most about the Twin Cities as longtime residents who grew up elsewhere? I'll go first. Michael and I have traveled.
Can I get back to the? I mean, a real question because I love Fallness, but on the Gina thing, I mean, the one thing I would say that just popped in my head is those. When I used to be younger covering this league, I loved every single thing about traveling. I loved getting up and going to a new city. And things like that. And then when you get older and older, there are times you're like, and more often that, that wake up call comes at 4 a.m. and you're just like, I cannot believe I got to go to this city, or I got to go catch up with the Wild because they left last night and now I got to catch up to them. And I would say that is, what I'll miss, what I've actually would be fine getting back to. Like, I just want to get on a plane again and go somewhere. I've been, I can't get out of the habit of waking up super early either. So that would be the big thing.
And then Chris asked basically, what, as people who lived elsewhere and travel a lot, what do we appreciate about Minneapolis, St. Paul? I'll go first. It's really got everything. I mean, it's got great music scene, great theaters, great restaurants. It's very livable. We have traffic, but it's not as bad as the traffic in a lot of cities. We have a beautiful riverfront, great parks, great bikes, good school. I mean, this is as good if you can deal with the winter, this is as good a place to live as anywhere. The only negative about living in Minnesota that I found has just been there are times in the winter when you're going stir crazy.
Yeah. I mean, that extra, that extra month that, is that we have a winter that other places don't have that can get to you. But I agree with you. I mean, take it from somebody that's grown up in New York and Florida. I absolutely would never go back to those places. And maybe not New York, but I would never. Florida is not appealing to me at all anymore. What I love about this, at least when I lived in downtown Minneapolis, is you could walk everywhere. I love going out to the lakes and the park reserves and things like that to walk around. So, the multiple seasons makes it awesome.
From Eric Berg, how long do you see Bettman staying as commissioner? Is there a succession plan in place?
I think a long time. I mean, new contract, and I think he's done a quality job. And to me, if he ever decides to retire, Bill Daly would be the natural replacement. Bill Daly is the Mr. Everything for the NHL. I mean, this guy, it's unbelievable. He writes this. He does everything in the league, and he's just so accessible. I mean, yesterday, it's unreal. Like yesterday, they had this big NHLPA conference call, and then he's got to write the rules out to memo the players and put out a press release and things like that. And then in the middle of this, I sent him an email with multiple questions about how these guys are going to get back from Europe, how many players are in Europe, will they have to quarantine? And he writes me this long email back giving me the answers. This is the number 2, the deputy commissioner of the National Hockey League. And this is him all the time. You send him an email and you can almost sit there and hold your breath before you hear back from him because it's coming that quickly. Frankly, that's what I love about Bettman too, is same thing. It's like last week when I was doing that, I can't remember what it was. I was doing some story and I needed him. And I got in touch with the league to get him on the phone, and within 5 minutes he called me. And when can you do that with any commissioner? Could you do that with Silver or Goodell, or what's the guy in baseball?
Rob Manfred. By the way,
Gilbert Gottfried.
I will say this. that I have. I used to, when I was a beat writer, I was very aggressive. I mean, I tried to really cover the beat the way you cover a beat. And there were I got Paul Tagliabue's home number once when he was the NFL commissioner. I also got Bud Selig's home number once when he was the commissioner. And I would occasionally, like, if I really thought I needed something, I'd call him and I'd leave a message. Yeah. And of course, in both cases, like, their top PR people ended up like calling me back the next day and saying, "Where did you get that number? Don't ever use it again."
Yeah, I know a beat writer in the NHL. It shows you how every team is different. That called the mascot for a story, and he got in trouble from the PR department. I mean, there are some teams like that where, in Minnesota, just to give you an example, and I won't give you that example, but but these players are very accessible. I'll just say that.
Right. Yeah. From Paul Larson, have you painted your scuffed walls yet?
No, I need that. It's funny that he asked that question because I was thinking of. This is funny. So I was talking to Dan Myers on the phone yesterday, and I asked him, I'm like, "Hey, how do you stain a fence?" He's like, and he goes to me, he's like, "You do not want to stain a fence." He goes, "It will drive you crazy. It's going to be messy and disgusting." He goes, "You need to hire out for that. You don't have it in you." And so I was going through my phone because there was a guy that came to fix some like screw caps like a month ago. Mm-hmm. And whatever, and I was trying to look for his number because I figured I'll have him paint the walls and stain my fence. So,
well, the thing is, you're going to pay somebody to stain your fence. The question is, are you going to have them just do it fresh, or are you going to have them correct your mistakes?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's better off just letting somebody else do it.
Yep. Kevin O asks, excluding writing and Twitter, what does Russo spend his screen time on?
Oh, let's see, on my phone. It's embarrassing, but a couple of ridiculous games. Dice with buddies and online poker. That's pretty much it on my phone. Yeah, that's pretty much. I do check out Instagram every now and then. I love late. I mean, this is just shows you how just psycho I am. If you go through who I follow on Instagram, you'll notice that I follow like 7 or 8 yacht accounts. I've become like obsessed with like. And I hate the ocean, but I've become obsessed with like, these things are so gorgeous, and I'm just amazed at people that can afford this. And I follow these yacht accounts and just like dream of like what it would be, how cool it would be to be on these yachts, these super yachts. And then I get a kick out of guys like Frank Caliendo and that Joey Molinaro guy that's on, I think he's Barstool. And then the other guy that I absolutely love on Instagram that I follow is that Bob Menery is his name. You know who I'm talking about?
No.
No. Let me just double check that that's the right name. Yeah, Bob Menery. Follow Bob Menery on thing. He's a comedian, and he's very R-rated. But he'll take videos of sporting events and do fake play-by-play behind it, but like really R-rated play-by-play of what the announcer really would want to say, and he does it in an exaggerated announcer voice, and it's so funny. And the other day he had one from hockey, and it's from honestly like 12 or 13 years ago at least. It had to be when the Wild were in Detroit, and Dominic Hasek came out to the blue line, and Gaborik went ass over tea kettle and almost landed on his neck. And I still remember that, and I was so disgusted by the play by Hasek because it was so reckless, and it could have left Gaborik really, I mean, in severe dire straits. And frankly, the play-by-play guy, I shouldn't say this because I really do have an immense amount of respect for him, but the play-by-play guy for the Detroit Red Wings, I could just tell to this day, hates my guts. Ken Daniels, you could just tell he hates me. And the reason why is I did go after him publicly because I couldn't believe how pumped up he got on his play call when it was so dangerous that Gaborik could have honestly been paralyzed. But just out of the blue the other day, he does 3 hockey highlights. The Bob Menery guy, and one of them is that Gaborik play from like 14 years ago. Like I don't even know where he found it. And he's just really, really entertaining.
From Minnesota Wild affiliates and prospects with the
But
Wild.
I do play a lot of online poker and dice with buddies too. Right. And it's funny because, during the hockey season, I never can get into these online poker. I never could take the time to do the online poker because you just never know if there's going to be news that's going to make me have to leave the game and essentially cost myself money. So I now that there's really no news that could happen other than whenever Kaprizov signs, I've gotten a little more into it. I did this. It's a bad habit. I've done it during every lockout. I did it in 04, 05. I got into online poker big time and did it a little in 2012, although I was much busier at the Strib because I was covering the Gophers hockey team during the 12-13 lockout. But I did it then, and now all of a sudden I'm kind of gotten back into that old habit as well.
From Minnesota Wild.
Look, you got to go on Jerry Mayhew's Twitter account. He's got a little golden doodle, little mini golden doodle. It's gorgeous.
We've reached the point of the pandemic where we're talking about golden doodles on our hockey show.
I thought I lost you.
You did. Oh, you lost me a long time ago.
I'm scrolling on. Hey, another funny thing to watch on Twitter? Ben Lieber's Twitter account, where he'll have his 3 young kids talk football. So it's like football from kids, and it'll be like, tell me what a safety is, and then just listening to these kids try to tell them what a safety is, or what a strong, like a dime defense is, or that type of stuff. It's very funny. Yeah.
All right, we are not going to get, because of Russo's filibuster, we're not going to get to a lot of Twitter questions today. You sent in a lot of good ones. We do appreciate it, and we're going to get to all of them this summer, I think. But from Minnesota Wild affiliates and prospects, would the Wild have any interest in signing Kovalchuk to a 1-year deal? And who do you think Kaprizov has for line mates next year, assuming Parise, Stahl, and Fiala stay together?
Yeah, I get why he's asking the Kovalchuk. Oh, that's somebody I talked to for that's quoted in the Kaprizov story as well. He's actually the first quote in the story. I get why he's asking that, but I just don't see where it makes sense. I mean, to me, the Wild have way too many wingers right now as it is, especially if Kaprizov's coming. So I just don't see why it makes sense. I think the most important thing is for them to upgrade down the middle, and I think Galchenyuk would make more sense on a 1 or 2 year deal. In terms of his line mates, the one thing that Twitter account asks that I agree with is I do think that it would make a lot of sense to separate, at least initially, Fiala and Kaprizov at even strength, but put them on the same power play. So I think that Fiala and Stahl would skate together, and then it's just a question mark of who Fiala plays with, and does he play on the left or right side? Again, they have Zuccarello, who's a right wing, so I think that almost Fiala or Kaprizov would have to play left wing to start off here. So, I think that maybe you play him with Zuccarello, and Zuccarello is such a elite passer that maybe that would make a ton of sense as well.
Last Twitter question. Again, thank you to everyone who listens. Please check out talknorth.com. Follow us on Twitter at TalkNorthPod and subscribe to Talk North on your favorite podcast app. From Ralph Wiggum, I've been thinking about the Wild trading Granlund while his wife was in labor and the speculation of a Dubnyk buyout during what he went through last year. What's the most stone cold move you've seen a team make with a player demonstrating that sports is just a business? I have a topic if you don't have one right off the top of your head.
Yeah, not really. No, I can think of right now.
I mean, those are pretty good examples. I will just say that it was, I think, twice I covered teams. This isn't like a brutal example like the ones you mentioned, Ralph, but it was fascinating to watch Doug Minkiewicz, fight to get a spot in the big leagues and fight to get into the starting lineup and fight and end up being a number 3 hitter on a playoff team that went to the ALCS and became this incredibly popular Minnesota Twins figure who is buddies with all these other players. And just, there's this sense of unity on those young Twins teams. And then to see the Twins trade Doug Minkiewicz to the Red Sox while the Red Sox were in town, and Minkiewicz had to pack up his crap and walk down the hallway and play against the Twins the next day.
That's interesting. I covered Minkiewicz in high school. I've told you that, right?
Yeah. And A-Rod too, right?
Yeah, I was
with
Westminster Christian. God, who was the coach of that team? It was, it's going to kill me. The coach of the team, Rich Hoffman? It's going to kill me.
What's the name of the school?
I got to look it up. Westminster Christian A-Rod coach. It was Rich Hoffman. Yep, Rich Hoffman. So
Okay.
yeah, I still remember interviewing Rich Hoffman for the first time on the baseball diamond, right behind the catcher, the right behind the plate, at Sarasota's baseball stadium, when Westminster Christian was in the state tournament, and wound up winning a championship that year. And I still remember interviewing him for the first time in Sarasota at that great stadium that the White Sox used to have spring training in. Yeah, I really can't think of something. I mean, that is definitely the example that Ralph brought up would be something that, you're right. Granlund's wife is literally in labor and he gets traded and was late getting to Nashville because of it. That same month, actually, JT Brown dealt with the same thing. He's put on waivers right when his wife was about to give birth to their child. And JT Brown was all of a sudden, pretty much sent down to Iowa. So you're right. I mean, I'm sure there are a gazillion other examples, but it's a business, and you know, um, definitely Paul Fenton showed last year that he treated it like a business. There's no doubt about it. I think that's one question I do see here is Matt asks, given that Dean Evison isn't one of Guerin's guys, so to speak, does that make Billy more likely to consider a veteran coach that would be 100% of his hire? I mean, the first thing I would say is that, while we could say that Evison is not one of Guerin's quote guys, Guerin and Evison have now worked together for a year, and what Guerin has shown is that he's such a good guy that he all of a sudden, if you're somebody that he likes to work with, you kind of become in his inner circle. And the example I'd give of that is the entire front office. They were all Paul Fenton hires, right? Tom Curvers, Matt Sells, Chris O'Hearn. And I could tell you just from watching them that there's, and from talking to Billy, is that there's an immense respect there. And I think that those three are going to continue on here. And continue part of Billy Guerin's inner circle. So in terms of Evison, if Bill, and I know he does, respects the job that Evison did behind the bench, and I think that would carry a lot of weight going into a potential search here. So there's a lot of factors here. Obviously, if Gerard Gallant is somebody that you could really get, I think that would be the one name that would probably maybe be somebody that Dean Evison would quote have to worry about. I don't think so much Peter Laviolette. I really don't think that there's anything to Doug Waite being on the coaching being the head coach in the next while. I don't think Bill Guerin would ever hire his best friend to be the head coach of the Minnesota Wild. So, I think Evison's got a real shot. And one real reason why he does have a shot, even though there are 20 guys on the team, is his relationship with Fiala and the way that he deployed him in the 12-game stints that he had.
And if he really wants to guarantee getting the job, he'll learn Russian this summer.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? I like the fact that Dean Evison actually spent a lot of time so far watching videos of Kaprizov play. Three different games he's watched of them now.
Interesting. Hey, great stuff, Michael. It's fun talking to you, even though we can't get together anymore. Looking forward to getting back to the X when we can safely. Thank you to all of our listeners, our sponsors, Grey Duck Vodka and Tony Hoagland, your State Farm agent in Champlin. Again, if you'd like to advertise with this show or the network and reach a lot of people in a very direct way, you can reach me at jsouhan@talknorth.com.
Pretty little city built on a hillside. Music in the bars and fire in the sky. We went to the beach and it was covered in ice. And I used to call it home. So much coming out, there's nothing going in. I know that you feel like you're never gonna win. Oh, but the world won't forgive a winner.
Like, I don't know what I bought, why it took a month, but essentially I got hoodwinked here for just a ridiculous purchase.